Hello, Panthers. This is Laura Tuttle, one of the counselors at the Counseling Center, and I'm very excited for today's edition of using art and creativity to de-stress. We're actually going to combine making abstract art and the natural relaxation that you can get from creating with one of the most time-honored, tried and tested techniques for de-stressing, which is deep breathing. Your breath is actually going to be the way that you produce this artwork, so I'm really excited to show you how to do that. So for today's intervention, we're going to need paint, a small bit of water, and a container to mix them in, maybe with maybe a straw. A straw does make it a little easier to do the blowing technique we'll be using, but also you can use just your natural breath. Something to protect your workspace because it can get a little splattery, and then maybe, some clothes you don't care about just in case you get some splatter. So grab your materials, take a deep breath, and let's get ready. So the paint I have today says you need to shake it first to get it ready. As you shake, really just tune into those sloshing noises and just notice what's happening. I'm picking my blue first because it's that Georgia State blue. So we're going to give our paint a little bit of a squirt. Anytime we're doing these types of abstract pieces, we can really be working on going with the flow and testing things out. We don't have to focus on specific measurements and getting it right the first time. We're going to mix it with a tiny bit of water, just a little bit. If it's too thick, it doesn't matter how strong you're blowing, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's not going to give that really cool effect that you want. Notice some of the sound of that stirring. Do you hear the wood clinking on the container? Just noticing the sensory inputs here. We've got the sounds, we've got the sight of this brilliant turquoise blue. And next, just notice some of the smells as you're creating this paint. Maybe your canvas. Next, let's do some red. Red is a nice Georgia State color. Again, we're getting the shake. If you can hear that sloshing. And see what kinds of senses you can feel with your touch as you're going in for the next round with mixing. In this, I can feel the smoothness of the glass contrasted with the roughness of the label. So I really love this particular art activity because it brings in a lot of things I appreciate about using art and creativity for stress management. And again, we're focusing on trial and error, going with the flow, accepting mistakes as they happen rather than focusing on perfection. I want to encourage you to really try to build in some mindfulness skills and practice being in the moment. So what that means is just focusing on the different sensory inputs you're getting while we're making this. Now we're ready to start putting our paint onto your canvas or your paper. And so you could do it all in one spot. That's a way to do this, but it is abstract, and so there isn't really one way. I'm going to make 3 spots just cause. So you'll start by pouring one color in. And so now you'll start to see why the water part is really important. And then the next part of the technique is just to add a second layer. And you pour the second color directly on top of the first. the colors are gonna mix in a really interesting way as we go, as you'll see. And since I'm doing 3 different ones, I guess we can have a different color scheme for them. So, yeah, one of them's just not gonna have white at all. How about that? And as you're going, just take a moment to pause and really appreciate the designs and the beautiful art you're already making, even though it's not the finished product yet. It's still really, really fascinating to look at and a really beautiful piece as it is. And you're starting to see why we want some splatter guard here. And for my final color, and then the final touch before we get to the deep breathing technique part. So the beauty of this technique is to just really practicing taking slow, full, deep breaths in and slowly and fully letting them out. You're going to want to pause in between breaths so you don't get lightheaded. And as we're going, what I really encourage you to do is watch the different ripples and the different patterns that happen as you're blowing. Let's start with this side first. And you can move your paper around to get the colors mixing in a different way and the air going in a different way. That was really fun. I might come back to that one. We'll see. Now let's move to this middle one.